fleet was a masterpiece of human ingenuity and defiance, a constellation of steel and firepower orbiting Earth like a vengeful swarm of hornets. Adrienne stood on the bridge of the Erebus, the flagship of humanity's armada, her gaze fixed on the holographic display before her. The Vraxis fleet loomed near Jupiter, a massive, ominous cluster of ships that seemed to blot out the stars. Their vessels were sleek and organic, like enormous black beetles gliding through the void. They pulsed with an eerie bioluminescence, their energy signatures so vast they distorted the space around them. But Adrienne wasn't intimidated. If anything, the sight of the enemy fleet only steeled her resolve. Humanity had faced impossible odds before. They had fought wars on Earth, clawed their way to the stars, and survived the harshest environments the galaxy could throw at them. The Vraxis were just another challenge, another predator to put in its place. "Status report," Adrienne barked, her voice cutting through the hum of the bridge. Lieutenant Commander Zhao, her second-in-command, turned from his console. His face was calm, but his dark eyes gleamed with determination. "The fleet is fully operational, Colonel. All ships report ready for engagement. We've got the Hammer of Sol leading the charge, with the Dauntless and Valkyrie flanking. The mechs are prepped and loaded in the carriers. Fighters are on standby." Adrienne nodded. "Good. And the prototype?" Zhao hesitated for a fraction of a second, then said, "The Aegis Cannon is online, but it's untested in combat. If it fails—" "It won't fail," Adrienne interrupted, her tone leaving no room for doubt. "It's the best weapon we've ever built, and we're going to need it." The Aegis Cannon was humanity's ace in the hole, a weapon so powerful it could rip through the fabric of space itself. It had been developed in secret, a project born from the darkest days of the war. Adrienne had seen the schematics, had watched the test footage. It was a weapon of last resort, a weapon designed to end wars. And now it would have its chance. "Open a channel to the fleet," Adrienne ordered. The communications officer nodded, and a moment later, Adrienne's voice echoed across every ship in the armada. "This is Colonel Adrienne Voss. You all know why we're here. The Vraxis think they can wipe us out, that they can crush us under their boots and take what's ours. They think we're weak because we've had peace for 1,000 years. But they don't know us. They don't know what we're capable of. We've faced extinction before, and we've always come back stronger. Today, we show them what it means to be human. Today, we remind them why you don't mess with Earth." The bridge erupted in cheers, the sound echoing through the comms. Adrienne allowed herself a small smile. Humanity had always been at its best when its back was against the wall. "Set course for Jupiter," she commanded, "and prepare for battle." The fleet surged forward, engines flaring like miniature suns as they cut through the darkness of space. The Vraxis fleet loomed larger with every passing moment, their ships shifting into formation like a swarm of predatory insects. Adrienne could feel the tension on the bridge, the unspoken fear that hung in the air. But she also felt something else, something stronger. Hope. The first shots came from the Vraxis, beams of searing energy lancing through the void. The human fleet responded in kind, their railguns and missile batteries lighting up the darkness. The battle began in earnest, a chaotic symphony of destruction and death. Ships exploded in brilliant bursts of light, their debris scattering like fireflies in the night. Fighters darted between the larger vessels, their dogfights a deadly ballet. Adrienne watched the holographic display, her mind racing as she issued orders. Bring the Hammer of Sol around to flank their left, have the Dauntless provide cover fire, and get those mechs deployed. The mechs launched from their carriers, their massive frames gliding through space with surprising grace. They were humanity's answer to the Vraxis ground forces, towering machines of war armed with railguns, plasma blades, and missile pods. They tore into the enemy ships with a ferocity that was almost primal, their weapons carving through alien hulls like paper. But the Vraxis were relentless. Their ships swarmed the human fleet, their energy weapons cutting through shields and armor with terrifying efficiency. Adrienne gritted her teeth as the Valkyrie took a direct hit, its hull splitting apart in a fiery explosion. "Zhao, status on the Aegis Cannon," she demanded. "Charging at 75%, Zhao replied. "We need more time." "We don't have time," Adrienne snapped. "Divert power from the secondary systems. I want that cannon ready to fire." The bridge shook as the Erebus took a hit, the lights flickering for a moment before stabilizing. Adrienne steadied herself against the console, her eyes never leaving the display. The Vraxis were closing in, their ships pressing the attack with ruthless precision. "Colonel," Zhao said, his voice urgent. "We've got a breach on Deck 3, boarding parties." Adrienne's jaw tightened. "Send the security teams and tell them to hold the line. We can't afford to lose this ship." The battle raged on, the human fleet fighting with everything they had. The Vraxis were powerful, their technology far more advanced. But the humans had something the Vraxis didn't. They had grit, they had determination, and they had Adrienne Voss. "Colonel," Zhao said, his voice breaking through the chaos. "The Aegis Cannon is fully charged." Adrienne's eyes narrowed. "Target their flagship. I want that thing obliterated." The Aegis Cannon powered up, its massive barrel glowing with an otherworldly light. The energy it emitted was so intense it distorted the space around it, creating ripples that spread out like waves on a pond. The bridge fell silent as the weapon fired, a blinding beam of energy lancing through the void. The Vraxis flagship didn't stand a chance. The beam tore through its hull, splitting the massive ship in two. The explosion was so bright it lit up the entire battlefield, a supernova of destruction that sent shockwaves rippling through the enemy fleet. Cheers erupted on the bridge, the sound a mixture of relief and triumph. But Adrienne wasn't celebrating, not yet. "Focus fire on the remaining ships," she ordered. "We're not done until every last one of them is destroyed." The human fleet pressed the attack, their weapons tearing through the now disorganized Vraxis forces. One by one, the alien ships fell, their once mighty fleet reduced to smoldering wreckage. The battle was over. Adrienne slumped into her chair, her body heavy with exhaustion. The bridge was quiet now, the only sound the faint hum of the ship's systems. She closed her eyes for a moment, letting the weight of what they had accomplished sink in. "Colonel," Zhao said softly, "we did it." Adrienne opened her eyes and looked at him. "No," she said. "We survived, but this war is far from over." She turned her gaze to the holographic display, where the wreckage of the Vraxis fleet floated like a graveyard in the void. They had won the battle, but the war was just beginning. The Vraxis wouldn't stop. They would come back, stronger and more determined than ever. But so would humanity. Adrienne stood, her shoulders squared and her chin held high. "Send a message to Earth," she said. "Tell them we're still in the fight, and tell them to prepare, because this is just the beginning." As the Erebus turned toward home, Adrienne couldn't help but smile. The Vraxis had declared war, but they had underestimated their enemy. They had underestimated humanity. And that was their biggest mistake.